Welcome to Boston. This is the birthplace of Americans being offended enough at people trying to keep us from being free that we're willing to start a war. I'm currently standing on Copp's Hill. It was one of the three original hills that they built the original Boston on when John Winthrop came. It is currently a cemetery. Back in 1600s, they had outgrown their cemetery already. They needed a new one. And so this is the cemetery. But it's actually even cooler is just the fact that it is one of the three big hills in Boston. Faneuil Hall, one of the meeting houses where the pre-revolutionary patriots got together, discussed a lot of the problems they had with the Kings, planned their protests. The Old State House, Boston, Massachusetts, 1770. This is where the colonists first started the tradition of picking up rocks and throwing them at soldiers until soldiers started shooting back, therefore starting the anger against England, the intense anger against England that led to the protests against the taxes. The British were on one side, the colonists were on the other. Colonists throwing rocks and snowballs at the British until the British shot and killed the first colonist. The Boston Harbor, known as a place where we threw all of the tea into the harbor. We were tired of paying taxes. They got rid of all of the taxes except for the tea tax, and we still didn't want to pay that. So right about where those birds are taken off is where the patriots, standing dressed as Native Americans, hoping to fool people. Yeah, they fooled no one. But they couldn't take the blame for it because, yeah, you understand how that works. Threw all of the tea into the ocean, costing the British, what would it be, thousands of dollars of damages. And when told they had to pay it back, they closed the harbor. You can probably understand the fact of how important it is to keep this harbor open, to keep the people fed. It was one of the major trading places. Their economics for most of New England came through Boston here. So if they closed the harbor, nobody ate, causing them to get even angrier. All right, we have the exaggerated importance of Paul Revere. Yes, he was one of them that rode to warn the colonists that the British were coming. They talk about hanging the lanterns in the Old North Church. You can see that behind us. You can probably see why it was the place to hang it, because it's so tall. So you go up to the top of the church tower, they can see for quite a while. Paul Revere had several other people that helped him and got further than him, but the reason we write is because they wrote about him and now he's famous. We are across the harbor in what was known as Charleston. And this is where Paul Revere and the rest of his crew set off for their ride. You can see the Old North Church from right across. It's the spire. There's a clock tower to the left, the tall spire in the middle. That's the big white pointy thing. So you can see that. You can obviously see that they can see whether one by land or two if by sea. They could take off for Lexington, Concord, and that's actually as far as they got, where they prepared the Minutemen for being able to fight the British when they came that direction looking for the leaders and the ammunition. All right, this really doesn't have anything to do with what we're studying this year, but next year you might want to have some heads up. So this is the Uss Constitution. It is the oldest commissioned naval ship. It was established in 1794, less than 20 years after the United States became a country. We were fighting off and trying to fight and make sure that they understood that we were a country. This was technically made to fight off the Barbary pirates, and it served as the main warship in the War of 1812. As the major port city of New England, Boston was a leader in colonial America, in politics, in economics, culture. At the beginning of the United States, they were also the leader in their fight for freedom.